They didn't teach you this in school. Not because they forgot, because they didn't want you to know. The people who actually run things, the ones rooms go quiet for, the ones everyone watches without understanding why, they're not operating on the same rules you were handed. You were given a map that leads nowhere. They have a different map entirely. What you're about to hear is not inspiration. It is not motivation. It is a precise, unflinching look at how power actually moves through the world, and the 9 laws you must internalize if you want to stop being moved by it and start moving it yourself. Welcome to the Machiavellian mind. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to celebrate evil. He wrote it because he was tired of watching good men lose. He watched idealists get crushed. He watched honest men get outmaneuvered by those who understood something deeper, that the world doesn't reward virtue, it rewards strategy. There is a version of intelligence that schools grade. It measures memory, logic, calculation, and it produces people who are excellent at following instructions. Then there is another kind. Call it dark intelligence. Call it psychological sovereignty. Call it the ability to see beneath the surface of every conversation, every room, every relationship, and understand what is actually happening beneath the pleasantries and the performance. Most people you interact with daily are not thinking clearly. They're reacting. They're being guided by emotions they haven't examined, by insecurities they've never named, by social programming so deep they've mistaken it for personality. They believe they're making choices. They are not. If you've ever felt like you're playing a game where the rules were never explained to you, this is why. Today, we break it open. 9 laws, each one a shift in how you see. And once you see through these lenses, you cannot unsee. That is both the gift and the cost. Let's begin. Most people are afraid of silence, not mildly uncomfortable, afraid. Watch them at a dinner table when the conversation dies. Watch them in a meeting when no one speaks. They rush to fill the space like it's a wound that needs dressing. They talk to be seen. They overshare to be accepted. And in doing so, they hand anyone paying attention a full psychological blueprint of who they are, what they fear, and exactly how to move them. This is not communication. This is exposure. The first law of dark intelligence is the architecture of silence. It means you stop using your words to perform and start using them to position. Here is the mechanism. When you remain quiet in a high-stakes moment, you create pressure, and pressure seeks release. The other person, unless they are also trained, will feel compelled to break that silence, and in breaking it, they will tell you things they never intended to reveal. Their anxieties surface, their priorities leak out. They negotiate against themselves. You said nothing, you won everything. The most commanding presence in any room is rarely the loudest voice. It is the still figure in the corner who watches everything and explains nothing. Every word you speak is information you are surrendering. Spend it deliberately. Silence is not absence, it is authority. Practice. In your next high-stakes conversation, let the other person finish and then wait. 2 full beats longer than feels comfortable before responding. Notice what they do with that space. This law will cost you something. It should. You have been trained your entire life to evaluate the world through a moral filter. Good and bad, fair and unfair, right and wrong. These categories feel essential, like removing them would make you a monster. But here is the problem. When your primary response to events is moral judgment, you are not thinking strategically. You are emoting strategically. And emotion is the enemy of accurate analysis. When someone moves against you, undercuts you at work, betrays a confidence, takes credit for your effort. Your instinct is outrage. They shouldn't have done that. And you spend your energy in the court of moral accounting, prosecuting them, in your mind, demanding justice from a universe that doesn't hold court. Meanwhile, they've moved on to their next play. Strategic amorality does not mean abandoning ethics. It means separating your analysis from your emotion long enough to understand what actually happened and what your most effective response is. A skilled mechanic doesn't curse the engine for breaking down. They diagnose it, they find the fault and address it, or they walk away. They do not grieve that the engine should have worked. When someone moves against you, the Machiavellian question is not how could they, it is what did they want? What was the cost-benefit calculation that made this move logical for them? And what does knowing that tell me about what comes next? You can hold your ethics, but hold them in your left hand. In your right hand, hold your clarity. A good person without strategic intelligence is simply a well-meaning casualty. Here is a trap that destroys many intelligent people. They try to appear invincible. They work to project competence so completely, so seamlessly, that no crack is visible. And this, ironically, makes them targets. When you appear unreachable, something happens in the people around you. Envy calcifies, resentment forms. People begin rooting for your failure, not because of who you are, but because your perfection feels like an insult to their limitations. The third law is the deliberate flaw. You do not project invincibility. You curate a vulnerability, a small one, carefully chosen. You mention that you're terrible at remembering names. You ask someone to help you with a task you could easily handle yourself. You share a story from your past that's slightly embarrassing, safe enough to reveal, meaningless enough to cost you nothing. What happens? The wall comes down. The psychological phenomenon here is called the Ben Franklin effect. When someone helps you or sees your imperfection, they feel closer to you. They feel safe. They lower their defenses because you've signaled that you are human. And while they're occupied with that feeling of connection, while they're bonding with the flaw you chose to show them, your actual strengths remain invisible. Your actual plans, your actual edges, your actual game, those stay locked away behind a door they don't even know exists. You show them the scratch. You hide the steel beneath. A safe opponent is an overconfident opponent. And an overconfident opponent is one you can outmaneuver while they're still congratulating themselves on seeing your weakness. We live in an age of unprecedented self-obsession. Everyone is the protagonist of their own story. Everyone wants to be understood, validated, seen. When you walk into a room trying to impress people, trying to be the most interesting person, the most knowledgeable, the most compelling, you are fighting for a spotlight that was never yours to command. Stop fighting for it. The fourth law, become the mirror. Instead of projecting your personality outward, you reflect theirs back to them, match their energy, adopt their language, validate what they feel before you say a single thing about yourself. When you mirror someone skillfully, something quietly extraordinary happens in their brain. They don't see you anymore, they see themselves. And because people are, at their core, in love with their own perspective, they will feel an inexplicable warmth toward you. They will walk away from the conversation thinking you are brilliant, insightful, magnetic, and you may have said almost nothing original at all. But here is what you were doing the entire time. You were collecting data. You were mapping how they think, what triggers them, what they need to hear, where their boundaries are soft. You were learning the architecture of their influence while they stood in the glow of their own reflection. The mirror does not compete. The mirror does not argue. The mirror simply reflects. And in the reflection, the observer reveals everything. The most dangerous thing you can do in any negotiation, any relationship, any competition, is need it to go a certain way. The moment you are attached to an outcome, you have handed leverage to the other side. They can feel it, sometimes consciously, sometimes not. The faint desperation in your voice, the extra step you take to please, the way you fold a little too quickly. Needing things makes you predictable, and predictable means manageable. The fifth law is outcome independence. This does not mean apathy. It does not mean performing false indifference. It means doing the preparation, the work, the strategy, and then genuinely releasing attachment to what comes back. The psychology here is counterintuitive. The person who can walk away from the table holds all the leverage. The person who must have the deal will always concede too much to keep it. When your employer knows you are terrified of losing your position, they own the terms of your life. When your partner knows you will accept any condition to avoid being alone, they set the floor. The practice is brutal, and it is simple. Sit with the worst case. Visualize it clearly. Walk through what life looks like if the thing you want most right now does not happen. And then ask yourself, would you survive? Almost always, the answer is yes. And in that yes lives your freedom. The person who has genuinely made peace with loss cannot be threatened by it. They operate from a completely different position than everyone around them. From abundance, from choice, from ground they actually own. This is the paradox of power. The less you need it, the more it comes to you. Most people want peace. They want to be liked. They will bend, shrink, and contort themselves to avoid conflict. This instinct, while biological, is a weakness. Conflict is not the enemy of your development. It is your development. The sixth law is the utility of opposition. It is the recognition that you need resistance, the way a muscle needs weight. Without it, you do not grow, you soften. You grow comfortable inside a self-concept that was never tested. And untested identity is fragile identity. An adversary forces precision. When someone is working to undermine you, you cannot afford to be sloppy. You cannot coast. You must be sharper, cleaner, more disciplined than you would ever have pushed yourself to be in comfort. History is full of great figures who required a worthy opponent to reach their peak. The friction was not incidental. The friction was necessary. So when someone declares themselves your opposition, when a rival appears, when envy targets you, do not spend your energy on grievance. Spend it on growth. Let their doubt be the benchmark you exceed. Let their hostility be the thing that sharpens your focus. And understand this: shared opposition is the fastest binding force available to human groups. A common threat unifies faster than any shared value or shared vision. If you need to build an alliance, find the common friction. If you need a team to cohere, name the shared challenge. The enemy is not the problem. The enemy is the tool. You were told to be yourself. That authenticity is the highest virtue. This is partially true, and mostly a trap. The version of you that is just being yourself is often the version that says the wrong thing at the wrong moment, in the wrong tone, to the wrong audience. The version that mistakes emotional honesty for emotional intelligence. Dark intelligence requires the understanding that identity is not fixed. It is adaptive. You are already different people in different contexts. You speak differently to your closest friend than you do in a boardroom. You carry yourself differently at a funeral than at a celebration. This is not inauthenticity. This is functionality. The seventh law is the law of the persona, the conscious, deliberate management of which version of yourself is deployed, when, and why. In high-stakes negotiations, you wear the mask of calm certainty. Nothing rattles you. You give nothing away. In moments requiring trust, you open, selectively, enough warmth to invite genuine connection. In creative collaboration, you become fluid, curious, generative. The goal is not to lie. The goal is calibration. You do not use a hammer to draw. You do not use a scalpel to build. The Machiavellian mind is a full toolbox, and the skill is knowing which tool the situation requires. The person who is the same in every room is not consistent. They are limited. Be water. Find the shape of the container. When the container breaks, flow. The most dangerous cognitive error you can make is projecting your own character onto the people around you. I wouldn't do that to them, so they won't do it to me. This logic has ended more careers, partnerships, and relationships than any external threat ever could. It is a beautiful lie that reality will eventually correct, usually at the worst possible moment. The eighth law is necessary: suspicion. Suspicion is not paranoia. Paranoia is fear untethered from evidence. Suspicion is disciplined attention. It is the practice of watching behavior rather than listening to words, of following incentives rather than promises. When someone enters your world with an extraordinary offer, the Machiavellian question is immediate. What is this worth to them? What do they gain if you say yes? What do they avoid if you say no? When someone flatters you excessively, the question is, what is this flattery designed to move? This is not cynicism. This is calibration. It means you do not extend trust as a default. You extend it as a reward, earned through consistent behavior over time. Give people small tests before you give them real access. Offer small amounts of influence or information and observe what they do with it. Do they handle it with integrity? Do they exploit it? This is data. Collect it. Machiavelli understood that deception is the default mechanism of those who want something from you. The solution is not to become paranoid. It is to become awake. Trust provisionally, and never be more surprised by betrayal than the evidence already gave you reason to expect. This is the final law, and it is the one most people cannot face. Somewhere in your formation, you were taught that certain parts of you are unacceptable. Your anger, your ambition, your desire for dominance, the capacity for cruelty you have felt, but never acted on. These parts were labeled dangerous, and you buried them, or tried to. But repression is not elimination. Whatever you push underground does not disappear. It festers. It surfaces as passive aggression in relationships where you should be direct. It appears as self-sabotage at the threshold of success. It shows itself in resentment toward people who take what you are afraid to ask for. The ninth law is the integration of the shadow. This is the insight that Carl Jung and Machiavelli, from entirely different centuries and frameworks, arrived at through different doors. The parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge are the parts that will eventually control you. True power is not the absence of darkness, it is the ownership of it. When you look at your own capacity for ruthlessness, for manipulation, for calculated coldness, and you don't flinch, something changes. You stop being naive about these forces in the world because you have recognized them in yourself. You understand the mechanism because you carry it. And then you make a choice, not because you are incapable of harm, but because you are capable of it and choose otherwise. That distinction is everything. A peaceful person who has never examined their capacity for violence is simply someone who hasn't been tested yet. A person who has looked at their own darkness, named it, contained it, and chosen to act with restraint, that is not weakness. That is the rarest form of strength available to a human being. You are not here to be harmless. You are here to be dangerous by choice. 9 laws, not guidelines. Filters. From this point forward, you will enter rooms differently. You will hear silence, the way musicians hear rhythm, as information, as structure, as something being communicated beneath the words. You will notice the performance behind the performance, the ask behind the compliment, the fear behind the aggression. You will see who is reacting and who is thinking. This comes with a cost that I will not hide from you. Clarity creates distance. When you begin to see clearly, you will feel the gap grow between you and people who are still operating on the old map. Some of them will sense the change in you before they can name it. They will call you colder, more guarded, different. Let them. What they're reading is the absence of something they were counting on. Your predictability, your need for validation, your willingness to be managed. You are not colder, you are cleaner. This channel exists for people who are done being moved by forces they can't see, who are ready to understand the actual mechanics of how influence, power, and human behavior operate, and to use that understanding deliberately, ethically, and without apology. If that is you, you already know what to do. Welcome to the Machiavellian mind.